Good morning, everybody. How are you guys doing? I hope you're ready to talk about personal statements. This is the dedicated personal statements class, session number 2. In the first session, we talked about the importance of following the directions. In this class, we're going to be talking about the importance of something else. But before we do that, Happy New Year, everybody. How's it going? Yeah? Are you guys happy for 2020 to be over? Yeah, so for some of you, it's going to be Happy New Year in the middle of class. So if you're currently in India, that means in 27 minutes, you are going to be spending the new year with GregMat people. That's kind of cool. And for those of us in the States or elsewhere, we'll be celebrating the new year at a different time. All right, guys, let's go ahead and get into this. So do you guys remember in the first section, we talked about following the directions? And on the surface, this seems like something that's easy to do, but in reality, it's actually kind of hard to do because a lot of people think that they understand a question, but in reality, they don't. Maybe they talk about something they shouldn't talk about, or they didn't develop the answer as deeply as the directions wanted. Sometimes it's as simple as them saying that you can only have a maximum of 500 words, but then you write 800 words, for example. So it is very, very imperative that you follow the directions as much as possible. This class, we're going to be talking about organizing your composition, also a very important idea. In the subsequent class, we're going to be talking about being honest and being vulnerable. In the subsequent class, we're going to be talking about it's not really about you. In the fifth class, we're going to be talking about utilizing powerful writing techniques. And then finally, in the sixth class, we're going to be talking about proofread, proofread, and proofread. Sound good, everybody? Okay, let's go ahead and move on then. So like I said before, this class is going to be about organization, and let's just be, right off the bat, organization matters. You'd be surprised how many personal statements I read that I don't find very organized. And why do you think that is? Everyone, take about a minute, reflect on that. Why do you think a lot of personal statements are not organized? Okay, take about a minute. Just go ahead and think about it. Okay, can I have some ideas in the chat box or raise your hand? Either or, doesn't matter. So Hanan says not understanding the prompt completely. I agree with that 100%. So you'll notice that following the directions in organization in some ways are kind of connected. So if you don't actually understand the prompt and you don't understand what directions to follow, it's very difficult to be organized. Kushal, you raised your hand. Do you want to give us your idea? Hey, Kushal.
Hey, so probably a proper plan wasn't laid out before writing the SOP.
Yeah, I think it's sometimes as simple as just writing before you even do the plan. I agree 100%. A lot of times we just are in such a rush to write the personal statement or write the statement of purpose that we actually don't give enough notice to the planning and the structure. And let me give you kind of an example of how important organization is. There was a novelist or a nonfiction writer where I listened to a podcast, I forget his name, but he said that when he writes a new book, it takes him about 3 months to write the book. So here's the question. How much time do you think he spends planning the book before writing it? So it's not a year. He said he spends about a month or 2 months planning, but if you think about it, that's a very long time. That means for 30 days or 60 days, he's doing no writing at all, like zero writing. What he's doing is he's saying, okay, the major thesis of the book is A. Paragraph 1 will be about B. Paragraph 2 will be about B. Or sorry, chapter 2 will be about B. Chapter 3 will be about C. And he spends a month doing that. Not a day, a month. Which is a long time when you think about it. 30 days just to plan. 30 days of no writing whatsoever. So as you can see, organization is very important, especially for authors who take writing seriously. Okay. Do we have any other ideas of why organization tends to be missing in a lot of these? Sissy says we tend to use our personal ways to interpret the requirement. Yeah, Sissy, I agree with that. We tend to interpret the prompts rather than answering them literally. Jacqueline says you have too much to say and don't know how to connect it all or choose the best points to include. Yeah, Jacqueline, I think that's a good point. Sometimes we have a lot of ideas, and instead of thinking about how to organize those ideas, what we do is we instead just kind of put it all on paper. Yep, I like that. That's a good one. We think the reader can infer what we mean. Manoush, I think that's a good one. That's a very clever idea. Guys, the readers are not superheroes. They cannot read your mind, which means the clearer your writing is, the more thankful the reader will be. Okay. All right. Good job, everybody. I think you guys had some good answers, so let's go ahead and move on. Okay, so here's the importance of organization. Before you write anything, you first of all have to identify your main thesis. What's the main thread running through your composition? What's the main thing connecting it? Did anybody read *Sapiens* by Yuval Harari, one of my favorite books? What was his thesis? The evolution process is just a topic. That's not a thesis. Remember, a thesis is something you argue. What was his thesis? What was he arguing? I'll give you a clue. Humans are the most dominant species on planet Earth because. What is that because? Nope. It wasn't reason or intellect. I think you guys are guessing. Did you really read *Sapiens*? Did you really read *Sapiens*? That wasn't his argument. His argument was not intellect or reason. So, according to Yuval Harari, the main reason, according to him, why humans are the most dominant species on Earth is because we are able to cooperate in large groups and do so flexibly. We're able to cooperate in large groups and do so flexibly. So he gave an example of lions. Lions can cooperate with each other, and they can even do so flexibly. However, how big is a lion pride? Maybe 10, 20 lions, something like that? Could you have a lion pride of 1,000 lions? 2,000 lions? 10,000 lions? Are lions capable of doing that, yes or no? No, they're not. But they're able of cooperating flexibly, like humans, but they can't do it in large groups. Yuval Harari then gives the idea of bees and ants. So bees and ants, can they cooperate in large groups, yes or no? Yes, they can. Millions of ants. However, are they flexible? Can an ant change its job? Can one ant do something different? No, there's no flexibility there. Humans are able to do both of those. So that was his thesis. And then his thesis had a second part. Why are humans even able to do this? It's because humans, unlike other species, have the ability to believe in fairy tales, have the ability to believe in myths. And this is why people who are of a religious disposition start to get very uncomfortable with the book *Sapiens*. But myths and fairy tales are not just relegated to religions. They're also relegated to the idea of the United States. Isn't that just a myth? There's no such thing as the United States. It's just something that 330 million people agree is a thing. That's the population of the United States. We just agree that that's a thing, right? But in objective reality, it's not like we were put on this earth and the United States existed since eternity, like the laws of physics, for example. Another example that he gives would be something like a corporation. Isn't a corporation just a collection of people who agree that that thing exists? Right? So, for example, take Coca-Cola. If you remove the CEO of Coca-Cola, does Coca-Cola die? Does Coca-Cola go away? No. If you replace every single employee of Coca-Cola, does Coca-Cola go away? No. So that is his thesis. His thesis is humans are successful because they can cooperate flexibly and in large groups. And why are they able to do this? They're able to do this because they have the ability to believe in fairy tales. And remember, fairy tales can be anything. It can be religion, it can be country, it could even be something like Bitcoin. Does Bitcoin have value? Yes, it does. Do you know why it has value? Because millions of people agree it does. That's the only reason. Does a dollar bill have value? Yes. The only reason is because millions of people believe it has value. That's it. Now notice the difference between that and water. Does water have value? H2O. Yes, it does. And does that value depend on people believing it has value? Yes or no? No, certainly not. If you're in a dystopian reality where a nuclear bomb has just gone off, do you want 10 gallons of water or do you want $10,000? What would you prefer? Yeah, it seems like you guys would want 10 gallons of water. So, according to Yuval Harari, that is his thesis. A thesis I think is pretty compelling, if I'm being completely honest. When you guys write your compositions, do you ever think about what your thesis is? My guess is most of you don't. What is the thread running through your entire composition? I often use myself as an example. What do you think my thesis is about education? What is my thesis? What am I arguing? Much of education is a scam, right? Much of education is a scam, in my opinion. Isn't that kind of my thesis? That's what I'm arguing. Test prep is a scam. Spending $60,000 a year on some kind of private school is a scam. Scam, 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 scam. So that's one of my theses. Another one of my thesis is the fact that you should focus on quantity or quality. Focus on skills or focus on just doing a bunch of rote practice. Yeah, focus on the skills. Don't just focus on a bunch of rote practice. So that's what I'm trying to get at here, guys. You have to identify what your thesis is. What exactly are you trying to argue? Does that make sense? Okay. Once you identify that, you then have to identify what your paragraphs will be about. Think of each paragraph as a self-contained mini composition. What is each paragraph going to be about? If you can't tell me clearly that the first paragraph is about this, the second paragraph is about this, the third paragraph is about this, then you don't really have an organized composition. And then finally, number 3, you can't just have a bunch of disjointed ideas. You can't say, oh, the first paragraph is about pizza, the second paragraph is about video cards, the third paragraph is about lions. Notice those paragraphs have no link, no connection to each other. So you have to identify paragraph links. Okay, any questions before we move on? Let's go back to Yuval Harari's book. We talked about his thesis. When he was identifying paragraph topics, he was instead identifying chapter topics, not necessarily paragraph topics. And he divided the book into kind of 2 main halves. Half number 1 is what humans are able to do. Can you guys remind me what they're able to do? Humans are able to cooperate. What was his idea? In flexible and in large numbers. That was the first part of his book. The second part of his book was the reason why they're able to do this. The reason why they're able to do this is because we have the power to believe in myths. Is that an organized book or is that not an organized book? That is a super organized book. Thesis. Here's what we can do. Here's the reason why we can do it. Okay. So any questions before we move on? All right, let's move on. Let's come back to this photo. I want you to imagine I'm going to organize an essay about these 4 bowls. So I'm going to have one paragraph about strawberries. I'm going to have one paragraph about the orange raisins. I'm going to have one paragraph about the dried apricots. And I'm going to have one paragraph about the dried cranberries. So here's what I want you guys to do. I want you to think about what your thesis is. What are you going to try to argue? We already know what the paragraphs are about. So this is going to be paragraph 1, or, it doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be in this order. So maybe this is paragraph 1, paragraph 2, paragraph 3, paragraph 4. And then finally, how are you going to link these together? So take about 2 minutes, think about it. Good luck. Okay, can I have a volunteer? Can somebody walk me through how you would organize this? Remember, you have to argue something. Like, there has to be an argument. Okay, any brave souls? Any brave souls want to raise their hand? Don't be shy. Marielle right there. Manoush like, where's Marielle? She always volunteers. Manoush, you want to volunteer? All right, here we go. Hey, Manoush. Oh, you have to unmute
Hello?
yourself. Hey.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yep. All right, so what's your thesis?
Um, can I organize those based on taste?
That's not a thesis. Remember, I identify the thesis first. What are you trying to argue? Remember, Yuval Harari was trying to argue that humans are the dominant species on Earth for, this reason.
Okay, so I have to find a reason that based on that reason, these, paragraphs must be connected to each other. So for example, I can say that it is, good for your health, for your diet or something like that. Am I
Okay, so
following
your
correctly?
thesis is something to the effect of, snacks can be healthy. Is that what your thesis is?
Yes.
Okay, I like it. So snacks don't necessarily have to be unhealthy, or snacks can be healthy. This is what you're trying to argue, right?
Yes.
Okay, I like it. And then obviously you're going to have a paragraph about raisins, a paragraph about apricots, a paragraph about cranberries, and a paragraph about strawberries, right?
True.
Okay, so what are these just going to be examples? Like, for example, the apricot's healthy, cranberries are healthy, raisins are healthy, strawberries are healthy. Is that how you're going to do it?
I would find what they like, what vitamins they share, and then, I would sort that based on that, something like that.
So you're saying paragraph one would be about vitamin A or something?
Uh,
Remember, in these bowls, I didn't put vitamin A, right?
I would bring reasons why they are healthy, and I would go, because that strawberries includes a lot of vitamin A. They are healthy, and
So
I
I
would
don't think
bring.
that's your organization. Your organization will be I'll have an entire paragraph about strawberries. And inside that paragraph, I'll explain why strawberries are healthy, is what you're saying.
Oh, so I meant to say that I would argue that, snacks are healthy,
Hmm.
and the reason that they are healthy is because of the ingredients, because of the like the vitamins, what
So
it's
you're going to
inside
say
them.
paragraph one is ingredient one, paragraph two is ingredient two, paragraph three is ingredient three.
No, I would say that paragraph one is about vitamin A and then strawberries. Paragraph two is about like another type of vitamin and another, bowl.
So is that organized or not organized? So your topic sentence in paragraph one is going to be this paragraph is about vitamin A.
Mm-hmm.
But what if vitamin A is also in cranberries and apricots and raisins?
That's what I was trying to say at first, and then I changed my mind. I thought that probably it's better to sort them based on the vitamins that they have.
If you sort them based on the vitamins that they have and there's overlap, would that be organized or not organized?
Uh, isn't it the way that I can connect my paragraphs to one another?
Well, we're not on that step, are we? Remember, follow the steps. What's step number
Oh,
two?
okay. So it's all about like, okay, so then I would say that I would have one paragraph per each snack.
Exactly. That's the correct answer. So your thesis is snacks can be healthy. One of the paragraphs will be about strawberries. One of the paragraphs will be about raisins. One of the paragraphs will be about apricots. One of the paragraphs will be about cranberries, right? And
Yes.
inside each paragraph, what are you going to explain?
Why they are healthy.
There
I
you
would bring
go.
these.
Now it's organized. Strawberries are healthy because A, B, and C. Raisins are healthy because A, B, and C. Apricots are healthy because A, B, and C, etc., right?
Yes,
And then
thank you.
finally, how would you link these?
With, things that they share in common.
No, I mean,
No,
what brings them all together?
because they are all snacks, like fruits.
Okay, there you go. So one way to link them is they're all fruits, right?
Yes.
Okay, or at least they're all. I don't know if an apricot is really a fruit, but I think most people think of it as a fruit. At least maybe it is a fruit. I don't know, to be honest. But they're
It
all
is over
fruits.
here.
Yeah, that's one way to link it. Another way to link it, in my opinion, would be about whether it's dried or not dry. So notice
There's
how,
one.
yeah, this one is dry, this one is dry, this one is dry, right?
But not the
But
strawberries.
not the strawberries. So here's how I would do it. This is how I would organize it. My thesis would be snacks don't necessarily have to be unhealthy, they can be healthy too. And then my first paragraph would be about dried apricots. And I would say another dry snack that's healthy is dried raisins. And I would say a final dry snack that is healthy is dried cranberries. But then in the fourth paragraph, what I would say is, but they don't necessarily have to be dry either. You can also have wet snacks that are healthy as well. And then the fourth one would be about strawberries.
Mm-hmm.
So do you see how every paragraph is incorporating my thesis, healthy, healthy, healthy?
Yes.
And do you see how I'm linking these paragraphs together? I'm linking them together with whether they're dry or wet. Does that make
Yes.
sense? Do you see how organized it is?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
So let me walk you guys through that again. My thesis would be snacks don't necessarily have to be unhealthy. They can be healthy. My first example will be about dried apricots, and I'll explain why they're healthy. My second example will be about dried raisins, and I'll explain why they're healthy. My third example will be about dried cranberries, and I'll explain why they're healthy. And then my fourth paragraph will be about strawberries, and I'll explain why they're healthy. Now comes the connections between the various paragraphs. I'll start with the apricots, and then in the second paragraph, I'll say another dry, healthy snack is raisins. And then in the third body paragraph, I'll say, a final dry snack that I want to mention that's healthy is cranberries. In the fourth body paragraph, I'll say something to the effect of, you might think that only dry snacks are healthy because of what I've mentioned so far, but actually they don't have to be dry. Take strawberries, for example, and I'll explain why they're healthy, etc., etc., etc. Do you see what I mean by organization? We have a thesis, we have paragraph topics, and we've linked them. Does everyone understand what I'm talking about? Okay, let's take a question from Ankit. Hey, Ankit.
Hello, Greg. Can you hear me?
Yep, I can hear you. How you doing?
Yeah, I'm doing great. How about you?
Not bad.
Yeah, so just 2 minutes to go for New Year.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah, so it's almost Happy New Year for you guys in India.
Yep.
Should we play some copyright-free Happy New Year music? Hold on.
Yeah, we could, I guess.
Copyright-free Happy New Year music. I don't know if YouTube will come up with anything. All right, so this says copyright-free Happy New Year. Okay, let's take a look. All right, everybody, we're gonna sit here for 1 minute, listen to the music, and wish everybody a Happy New Year. Okay, guys, I'm gonna do a countdown. Here we go. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Happy New Year!
Happy New Year!
Oh, yay! Amazing! Okay, what's your question?
Yeah, so actually I wanted to volunteer, but I thought, like, could I give a thesis? If you don't
Sure,
mind?
yeah, go ahead, volunteer. What's your thesis?
So like, I
Your
was
thesis
thinking
is
it was,
2021 will be a much better year than 2020.
I hope so.
Go ahead.
All right. So I was thinking it was a bit hypothetical, if you don't mind. Like,
Sure.
I'm just guessing. So like I would like to do a contrast between like why strawberries are better than these dry fruits or something like that.
Okay, so your thesis is the wet fruit strawberry is better than dried fruits, right?
Yep,
Okay,
exactly.
fair enough. All right, yeah, that's fine. You could do that. And then paragraph 1, are you going to explain why? Well, okay,
Why?
tell me how you would organize it. What would paragraph 1 be about?
What I'll take a few examples. Let's start off with
Are
let's
those
say
fireworks?
Yeah, actually they are.
Wow, that's pretty cool. Wait, so like right outside your house?
Yep.
Okay.
That's
Where do you
exactly.
live? And do you live in a big city?
Yeah, I do. So
Okay.
everyone's out here, out on the
And then
road.
you're here talking about how you would organize an essay about strawberries. Okay. What is paragraph 1?
Yeah, so I would like to first talk about like why raisins are uh, better than strawberries in one way or the other, and so on.
So you're only going to focus on raisins?
Yep.
So raisins are better than strawberries, apricots are better than strawberries, cranberries are better than strawberries?
Yep.
But I thought your thesis was strawberries are better.
Oh, I mean the other way around.
Oh,
Sorry.
the other way around. Okay. Yeah, that could work.
And in the final paragraph, I would maybe conclude that, according to the above three passages, the paragraph, you can say that strawberries are better.
Okay. Yeah. Obviously this is kind of a silly exercise. No one's really going to write an essay about strawberries and dried fruit. But as long as it's organized in some fashion, I'm on board with it. Hey, Evelyn.
Hi, Greg.
Hey, what's up?
Hi, everyone. So I was looking at those pictures and I would go with saying my thesis is how to let go of sugar and using like fruit to sweeten your food.
Okay, so the thesis is don't use like granulated sugar, use fruit instead.
Yes.
Ooh, I like that. That's a good thesis. I like that. And then the first paragraph you'll talk about how to use strawberries or how to use raisins, something like that.
So the first paragraph, I would generally talk about how there's more concentration of sugar in dried fruit, and then use like the 3 dried fruits there as examples, like first paragraph, the first one, and then one per paragraph.
Okay, so you'll say you'll have more of a sugar density in dried
Yes.
fruit and then
Yes.
give the examples of these. Okay, I'm on
Yes.
board.
And then for the strawberry, I would go with something like, even though there's not as much density of sugar in fresh fruit, you could validly use it to sweeten, let's say, your yogurt or your
Yep.
cereal.
I like that. I think that's a good one. You have a thesis, which is good, and your first body paragraph is about dry fruits.
Yeah.
And not only that, but a high density of sugar, right? Your
Yeah.
second body paragraph is about strawberries with a lower density of sugar. So,
Yeah.
what is linking your body paragraphs together is the density content of the sugar. Yeah, I like that. That sounds good. Yeah, good job. Okay. All right, let's actually look at a real essay here, a real essay prompt. All right, everyone take a look at this one. What do you hope to gain professionally from the Wharton MBA? Now, in some cases, the thesis is actually easier than you think because the thesis is inside the question, is it not? What would the thesis be here? Isn't the thesis, I will gain professionally from the Wharton MBA? Isn't that the thesis? I will gain something from the Wharton MBA, right? So sometimes the thesis is already given to you. Okay, it's already given to you. Now, Manoush says, is this the same as goals? The answer is no. No, certainly not. Remember, I told you guys you have to follow directions. Are they asking you about goals? No. Are they asking you about your personal life? No. Are they asking what do you hope to gain from 2021? No. They're asking from the Wharton MBA. They're asking what do you hope to gain professionally? What do they mean by that, professionally? Something that helps your what? Yeah, something that helps your career, right? Something that helps your career. Okay, so like I said, the thesis here is kind of given to us. The thesis is, I hope to gain professionally from the Wharton MBA. Would you respond to this prompt? Nothing. I hope to gain nothing. Nothing, to be honest. Nothing. Right, so obviously the thesis is fixed. Can you change the thesis? Not really. Not really. Okay. I mean, you could have a thesis like, I hope to gain professionally in this specific way, but wouldn't that specific way be better in a paragraph? Like, this is paragraph 1, this is paragraph 2, this is paragraph 3, like that. So we're going to do this one together. So let me get my marker here. So the thesis, let me use white, would be, I hope to gain professionally. Now the question becomes, how am I going to organize this? It's 500 words. How many body paragraphs do you think we need? I'm thinking 3. Do you guys think 3 is pretty good? So the first body paragraph is going to be the first thing I hope to gain professionally. The second body paragraph is going to be the second thing I hope to gain professionally. The third body paragraph is going to be the third thing I hope to gain professionally. Okay, so I'm going to give you guys about a minute or 2 minutes. I want you to think about those 3 things as related to your career. Remember, make this kind of personal to you. Okay? And I'll make it personal to myself as well. All right, go ahead, guys. Good luck. All right. Can I take a volunteer? Tell me the 3 things you hope to gain professionally from this MBA. And like I said, try to make it unique to your situation. Don't just say a bunch of generic stuff. All right. Any volunteers for this one? Any volunteers? All right, we got Sharif. Hey, Sharif, how's it going?
Hey, Greg. Fine. Yourself?
Oh, I can barely hear you.
One sec.
Mm.
Can you hear me now?
Yep, yeah, that's better. Mhm.
Yeah. I was just saying, find yourself.
Find myself.
No, find and yourself. When you asked me how am
I thought you were hoping to find yourself in the Wharton
No.
MBA. I was about to
No,
tell
no,
you,
no.
no, that would not be a good answer.
No, actually, I am aiming at apply to Wharton, and what I'm aiming to get from a short-term goal and a long-term goal.
No,
That's how
no, it
I'm gonna
doesn't say
divide
short.
it.
Oh, that's how you're going to link the paragraphs. Don't worry about that
Yeah,
right now.
yeah.
You know, remember, don't worry about that. Just identify the topics first.
Okay, breaking into investment banking.
Okay, so getting into investment banking. I like that. That's a good answer.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So investment banking. And notice you said the word breaking into, implying that you're currently not in it, right?
Yeah, not
Yeah.
really into
Okay,
it.
I
Not
like that.
virtually in it right now.
Yep.
Yeah.
Second.
Second, on a long-term basis,
No,
also
don't
develop
say
my
on a long-term
network.
basis because again,
Develop
that's the,
my network.
okay. Develop my network. Yep. Good. I like it. Next.
And gain competent business skills.
That's a little generic, but okay.
Yeah,
Gaining business skills. A little bit generic, but okay.
I know.
Now, how would you link these 3 ideas?
All right. So on a first of all, I would like to say that start off with the business skills, like learn new skills that will help me on a long-term basis. That will help me in business. Then I would say that what I'm looking to transition into investment banking, and then or I'm looking to gain a network, and then
No. You had
Go ahead.
a much better linking before. Link it by short term and long term.
yeah, exactly.
Which one of these is short term?
Banking.
Yeah, this is the link. And
Mm-hmm.
then these 2 are long term.
Yeah, why not? Long term and maybe going to private equity after that, but we'll see.
No, see, you're not being organized. Maybe I'll go to private equity. Maybe I'll do
No,
this. Maybe I'll do that.
after banking, because to go to private equity you require banking.
But you
So,
just
go-
identified the 3 topic ideas as these
Mm-hmm.
3. So by introducing the idea of private equity, you have
Yeah,
now
I understand.
deviated from your plan.
Exactly.
But isn't that the exact opposite of what we're talking about here?
True.
Okay, so you cannot deviate from the plan. If you want to mention private equity, shouldn't it be part of your plan?
Exactly.
Okay.
Like the 2 months that the writer spends on before he writes. his
Exactly,
book.
right? So you can't just deviate from the plan, right? Okay. So body paragraph number 1 is about investment banking. That's a short-term goal. Body paragraph number 2 is developing my network. That's a more long-term goal. And then finally, body paragraph 3 is gaining business skill. That is a until I die goal, right?
True. Yeah.
Do you see the link? That's a beautiful link. This is what I hope to immediately accomplish. This is what I hope to accomplish midterm. This is what I hope to accomplish all the way until I die. Boom. Good essay. I like
And I had one more question for you. If like what I'm facing right now as a prompt, I know it's not really linked to what we're talking about. Is tell me something that is not mentioned in other parts of your application.
Just ignore that for now. Yeah, let's make sure that
All right.
you get the organization down. I think that's the more pressing issue. Because
No, it's another application because Wharton is for later. I'm working on another application where the essay.
no,
the
my
prompt of
point is, if you
Yeah.
cannot organize your personal statement, then answering
Yeah.
that question is irrelevant.
I understand.
Yeah, so I
Because
would,
there's no personal statement actually. That's why. That's their personal statement. Just tell us something outside of your CV and outside of the information we've
then
asked
I
you
would
to
just
put in.
organize it the same way you're doing right here, or something like that.
All right. All right. Sweet.
Okay, so to me, I think this is a good organization. The thesis is, I hope to gain professionally in these following ways. First of all, I want to break into investment banking. Second of all, I want to develop my network. Third of all, I want to gain business skills. And the question is, what links these 3 paragraphs together. It's the idea of time. This is something that I want to immediately happen. I want to be in investment banking in 2022. I want to develop my network, something that I can rely on maybe until my 50s and 60s. And then finally, I want to have these business skills for the rest of my life. I want to go to my deathbed with these business skills. I like it. To me, I think that's a good essay. Make sense, everybody? Pretty good. Pretty good. Okay, can I have one more volunteer? Anyone want to tell me what they got? Hey, Jacqueline, how you doing?
Good morning, Greg.
Morning.
So I'm actually not pursuing an MBA, but this is what I got.
Well, let's tailor it to your field. So what are you pursuing?
I'm pursuing a law degree, but just for the sake of time, can I go ahead with the MBA
Sure.
example?
Yeah, no
I
worries.
wrote it down.
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
So I wrote down the skills and tools necessary to start my own business.
Oh, good. I like that. Very specific and related to business, obviously.
Skills and tools necessary to invest in different industries.
Okay, so this is about investment. Okay, so this is about starting. So be careful. The skills and tools are what links it. So
Yeah.
really the topic of paragraph 1 is starting my business, right? Paragraph 2 is about investment in other businesses, right?
Yeah,
And
and
the
my
third
third
paragraph?
one is consult with small businesses in destitute communities. So
Okay, so helping the community, that kind of thing.
Yes.
Okay. And then finally, what links all of these together? Remember, what are you mentioning in every paragraph? Isn't it the acquisition of
skills and tools.
skills and tools? I want to know the skills and tools that help me start my business. I want to know the skills and tools that help me invest in other businesses. And finally, I want to acquire the skills and tools that allow me to assist communities in need.
Yes.
Good. I think it's a very powerful essay. I like it. Good job. Okay. Shall we move on? Oh, Manoush has a question. Hey, Manoush.
Hi, Greg, I'm not sure what's the difference between this and goals, because when Sharif was sharing his goals, for me it sounded like, I'm sorry, what he was sharing, it was what he's going to gain from this degree, but it sounds like goals. I don't know what I'm missing.
Why even take the risk? By mentioning the word goals, what do you gain over using the word gain?
Okay, so I'm not using the word goals, but what I'm doing is actually I'm talking about my goals.
You're arguing semantics right now. You're arguing semantics. If
So
you're
what
if you're
sorry.
going to reply to this prompt, are you going to use the phrase gain professionally, or are you going to use this is what I hope to achieve, these are the goals I hope to achieve? What should you use?
I would say these are the, like exactly what it's asking me, that it says that what do you hope to gain professionally, and that's what I'm going to
whether
say.
this means goals or doesn't mean goals is not really material to the actual the composing of the writing, right?
Okay, so even if the question, even if the prompt was saying that what was your career goals, I would still say the same things, but I wouldn't use, the exact phrase that they are saying. Can I make myself understood?
In my opinion, gaining something professionally is not the same thing as a career goal. So for example, do you see how she said, I want to acquire the skills and tools that allow me to start my business? Maybe her goal is to be the industry leader in a certain field. Not the same thing.
Yeah, it was Jacqueline, right?
Yeah, Jacqueline, not the same thing. So in my opinion, I'm seeing a difference between gain professionally and goals. But even if there's not a difference, the question is, what do you gain by addressing a different prompt? The only thing you gain is the fact that you didn't follow directions.
Okay.
Does that
So
make
if you
sense?
want to answer the same thing with it, and if it was saying that goals, how would you say that for yourself?
Like if I ask
Your-
you what your favorite food is and you tell me my favorite food is Diet Coke, and you go, but Greg, think about it. You consume food, you swallow food, you also swallow a liquid. So in my opinion, I'm not really seeing a difference between Diet Coke and pizza. So I think Diet Coke is a valid answer. you're just running the risk of not actually answering the question. So why even argue the semantics? You see what I'm saying? Use the phrase gain professionally.
So if the prompt was saying that, so in your case, so one prompt says that, what do you hope to gain professionally from this MBA program? And the other one is saying that, what are your career goals after finishing this program? What your answers would be to these two different prompts?
So what Jacqueline did that was so beautiful is she actually identified what she can receive from the program. When you're writing your prompt about goals, are you talking about what you're receiving, or are you just talking about what you hope to accomplish?
Things that I'm going to receive.
No, you're not. That's a
The
lie.
goals?
No, that's a lie. No, that is not true. That is not true. So for example, if they said, what are your career goals? You're not going to write down, I hope to receive the following so that I can achieve this career goal. That's not a true statement. You would write down something like, I hope to serve my community. I hope to start a business that is very, very successful. What you're not answering is you're not answering what you're gaining from the program. See
Yeah,
the difference?
Jacqueline's response, I think, was more clear. That's actually what I got. But
Right.
yeah,
So
thank
that
you.
goes back to lesson number one. Lesson number one being what?
Answer the prompt. Yeah.
No. Be very specific with what I said. It's not just answer the prompt. It's follow
Follow
the
the direction.
directions. And
Yes.
these directions, are they asking you to identify things that you will receive from the program, or to talk about your career goals?
What we are going to receive from the program. Yeah.
Exactly, which is why Jacqueline's answer was so good. Skills and tools.
Thank you.
Make sense? Mhm.
Yes, it does. Thank you.
All right. Maybe you guys would pay good money to see me and Manoush go like 12 rounds or something. 12 rounds in the boxing ring. All right, let's go to prompt number 2. All right, prompt number 2, everybody. I want you guys to think about how you would organize this. So taking into consideration your background, personal, professional, and or academic, how do you plan to make specific, meaningful contributions to the Wharton community? Okay, so this one here, I think the thesis is, depending on how you want to approach it, the thesis is clear in the fact that you will contribute to the community or you won't. Are you going to say, actually, I won't contribute to the community, right? So obviously the thesis is going to be, I will contribute to the community. Okay, so now you have to think about in what ways you will contribute to the community. And does it have to be specific or not specific? Do you guys remember lesson number 1? Follow the directions or don't follow the directions? Follow the directions. You have to say something specific. And number 2, does it have to be meaningful or not meaningful? It has to be meaningful. So imagine if I write this prompt. This is how I'm going to contribute to the Wharton community. First of all, I'm going to bring pizza once a month so that we can all enjoy a nice lunch. Good answer or bad answer? Not a great answer. Is it specific? Yes, it is. It's specific. It's specific. Is it meaningful? Not really. Not really. Yes, I'm bringing pizza, which is nice, but 10 years later, you guys are sitting like, starting your own business, or you can be like, God, I remember this guy, Greg, in the Wharton MBA program. He brought pizza every month, and it just changed my life. It just absolutely changed my life. I just couldn't believe the selflessness of this guy. And it really just opened up a world of generosity for me. Is that what you're going to say? So do you see how it's not necessarily that meaningful? So what you have to do here is identify 3 things, maybe even 2 things. Do you see how it's 400 words? Could you get away with 2 body paragraphs here? I think you could. I think you could. So everyone, try to identify how you're going to contribute to the Wharton community in 2 specific, meaningful ways. Okay? Good luck. Okay, can I take a volunteer? Even if you have only one way. Okay, let's go to Manoush. Hey, Manoush.
Hello again.
Hello. Round 2.
Yes.
Or no, round 3, because I think we had round 1 in the previous class.
I guess so.
Okay, round 3. Let's go.
My first body of paragraph would be that I would like to increase spread the knowledge that I gained from this program to other people who are passionate about the same program by making presentations at workshops, seminars, and conferences, and
So
also
you
by
would
hosting.
you would host presentations, is what you're saying?
Yeah, you're hosting webinars, making presentations. Yes.
While you're a student at Wharton.
Is that something wrong with that?
No, it's not. I'm clarifying. I'm not saying it's bad.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I like it. Okay, so the presentations would be about what? So you're a student at Wharton right now. You're going to have presentations for your colleagues, like your peers, other students in the program?
For the other students.
Okay,
Yes.
and then what would the presentations be about?
And I actually was thinking that also doing something international, like making YouTube videos. These are the thoughts that are coming into my mind. Maybe I shouldn't.
Coming into your mind means you're not organized. Remember how
Okay.
we're just kind of listing random things is not organized.
Okay, so I wanted
paragraph
to start
1
over.
is going to be about giving presentations while you're a student at Wharton to other people who are there. And then what would the presentations be about?
The technical knowledge that I gained.
Okay, from your like professional experience or something?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
fair enough. Okay, that's fine. Okay, I'm on board with that. Paragraph 2.
The second paragraph would be about my ideas about offering functional and affordable methods to increase expenditures of, I'm a data center engineer, so I would offer cloud-based services to other companies and other businesses.
Is
While
that the
maybe
question?
I'm.
Is the question what kind of business idea or what ideas do you have?
Ugh.
No, you're off topic. You're way off topic. Remember, in
Goodbye
business
then.
school, everybody's going to be giving their ideas. Everybody. This is specifically asking you how you're going to contribute to Wharton. If you give presentations to your colleagues about things that you've learned from your professional experience, sure, I feel like that's okay. But if you start talking about, I'm going to contribute my ideas, remember, everybody in business school contributes their ideas. That's the idea
Okay.
of business school, right? Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. So I only have one idea.
Okay, no worries. Let's go to Kushal. Hey, Kushal.
Hey, Greg, how are you?
Good, how are you?
I'm doing great. So I aim to do cybersecurity, masters in cybersecurity, so not exactly MBA, so not obviously MBA. And so with the skills that I developed through cybersecurity, I like to share knowledge about the cybersecurity threats with my maybe like colleagues or with the professors, so that they're not susceptible to these threats or these scams in the future.
Okay,
That's one
so
way I could pay back to the community.
I think that's meaningful, but can you be more specific by how you mean share it? I think what they mean by like Manoush, when she said, I'll give presentations, I think that's a better answer. So how exactly are you going to share this knowledge?
By holding sessions, probably.
Okay, so you're going to hold sessions, like free sessions that students can attend on cybersecurity and how better on how best to practice good cybersecurity.
You're right. Yes.
And then if they start businesses in the future, they'll know from the very beginning how to practice good cybersecurity and avoid costly security breaches that cost companies millions of dollars of lost revenue and also hurts their reputation.
Absolutely.
Damn, that's a good contribution, man. That's a good contribution. If you say something to the effect of, I know that many of my colleagues in the Wharton community are going to start their own businesses, but many of these individuals start businesses that lack good cybersecurity protocols. If they start with good cybersecurity protocols, they can avoid costly reputational hazards and revenue hazards down the line. Good. I like that a lot.
Thank you. That was perfect. Thank you.
Okay. Second one?
I haven't thought of a second one,
Okay.
to be honest.
No worries. Maybe you and Manoush can combine your ideas. Okay. Do we have anybody else? Anyone else want to give this a shot? All right, Jacqueline. Hey, Jacqueline.
So I don't know if this is like cliche, but just from my perspective, I would say, as a Latina, I would provide a different perspective in class.
Yep,
And
it works. That would be the personal angle. So, Jacqueline, what I think you're focusing on, which I think a lot of people are missing, isn't the organization kind of given to you here?
it is, yeah.
You should have body paragraph 1 be something personal, body paragraph 2 be something professional, body paragraph 3 be something academic, right? So, from a personal point of view, as a Latina woman, I would say that's a good paragraph, yeah.
Yeah, because only like 2% of students enrolled at Wharton are Latina women.
Exactly. So mention that. Hey, listen, many Latina women are not involved in this program, which means the perspectives tend to skew white and male, right? So
Yes.
to me, I think that would be a wonderful paragraph for the personal angle. What would you say about professional and academic?
I actually didn't go that far. Like I said, I'm not pursuing an MBA, so I don't know what to say.
So what we could do here is we could combine Kushal, Jacqueline, and Manoush, and then we have a pretty good essay for Wharton. But obviously, we can't do that. In reality, it has to be just one person. Okay, thank you, Jacqueline. So I think Jacqueline noticed something here that you guys kind of avoided, which is the organization's given to you. So body paragraph 1 should be personal, body paragraph 2 should be professional, body paragraph 3 should be academic. Now let's imagine you've never worked in a professional career. How many body paragraphs should you have? You should have 2, just personal and academic, right? Something like that. Okay? Does that make sense, everybody? All right, we have a question from Sharif, and then we'll call it a day. Hey, Sharif.
Actually, I wanted to volunteer for the previous task.
Go ahead. The previous one you said?
Yeah, the one where we were discussing like the 3 paragraphs.
Okay, sure.
All right. So first of all, what I would bring to the MBA is
Whoa.
because I have a
Whoa. Wait,
I have
which
a
one?
problem.
Which prompt? Prompt 1 or prompt 2?
I think it was prompt 2.
Are you
the one
looking
we
at the
just
screen?
discussed. No, yeah, prompt 2.
Okay, prompt 2. Yeah, because these 2 prompts are actually opposites. This one's what you
Yeah.
hope to receive from Wharton. This one's what you hope to give to Wharton, right?
Exactly.
Okay, go
So
ahead.
for the second one, and I just because I heard you like discussing with telling Manoush, I think it was Manoush, that there's 3 parts to it, and one of it has to be personal, and one of them has to be professional, one of them academic. And for me, having a background in family business, the only thing I can really bring is this experience, and I can teach a class that I already teach at Stanford which is a case study
Perfect.
about family business. How would you organize
I
it?
would say that. I mean, do you really teach a class at Stanford?
Yeah.
Then
I'm invited.
to not mention that would be incredibly stupid.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
I know. That's
So
why I wrote a case study about.
I would put that under the academic paragraph.
Okay.
Yeah,
And
that's
then
what I would do. I
professional.
would say, currently, or I have taught a class at Stanford. I would like to do something similar for free, of course. Mention that, because if you're trying to get like paid from Wharton, obviously that's not really contributing anything to the Wharton community, right?
I do it for free for Stanford.
Yeah,
So I'll do it for free for
Yeah,
Wharton.
that's my point. So you would say I would host, this weekly class, much like I do for Stanford. I would do the same thing for Wharton. I think that would be perfect for the academic paragraph. Yeah.
But if the experience, the class I teach is regarding my previous experience in family enterprise, which is also my personal experience.
No, personal is more about your personality. Remember, Jacqueline, or not your personality, but more about your personality and background. Jacqueline's a Latina woman, right?
Exactly.
So when talking about like this teaching a class at Stanford, to me that falls under the professional and academic umbrella, not the personal. Personal would
Okay.
be, for example, where did you grow up?
Beirut, Lebanon.
Yeah, Beirut, Lebanon. And you could say something to the effect of, Lebanon's having a lot of issues right now. And I think I would bring a very unique perspective because, this is a struggling country. And I can bring kind of a unique perspective there because many people will come from either developed countries or countries that are not struggling. That I think that would be the personal angle.
All right.
Does that make sense?
Sounds good. Yeah. Thank you.
Cool.
And Greg,
Yep.
do you teach? Do you do any like personalized like not MBA like application consultancy? Or not at all?
No, because I kind of hate it.
I hate it too because it's just too expensive. It's too crazy.
Well,
for
that's
someone
why
like
that's
from-
why we're charging $5 a month. But maybe I'll try to introduce other things that can help you. So
This is really helpful. Thank you.
yeah, no worries,
Honestly.
no worries. So as you can see, some prompts more than other prompts imply a thesis. So for example, this one here, does this imply a thesis? What do you hope to gain professionally? Of course, I hope to gain professionally, right? That's the thesis. This one right here, it implies a thesis. I am going to contribute to Wharton community. But not only that, it also implies organization. Paragraph 1 is about personal. Paragraph 2 is about professional. Paragraph 3 is about academic. So that's what I mean by really follow these directions. Okay, let's take one more example. Okay, this one here, and then we'll go. The definition of successful leadership has evolved over the last decade and will continue to change. Is that presented as something that I need to talk about, or is that presented as just a fact? That's just a fact. Do I need to devote any of my 300 words to that sentence? No, it's a waste of time. It's a huge waste of time. Get here. What do you need to develop to become a successful leader? Number 1, 50 years ago, Mad Men. I'm working at an advertising agency in New York City. Do I need to be well versed in multicultural things? Do I need to be familiar with other cultures? Do I need to be familiar with the varying needs of different cultures and genders and things of that nature? So one paragraph, don't you think, would be, I want to develop a cultural awareness that helps me become successful in a globalized world. Wouldn't that be a good paragraph? I want to develop the skills and in the tools necessary to succeed in a globalizing world. Something like that. What would be another idea? What could be another paragraph that we need to get here? What makes a successful leader in 2021? I would say flexibility. Jacqueline. Jacqueline's on fire today. Everyone, Jacqueline is on fire today. Think about it. 60 years ago, you had companies that could almost do no wrong, which basically means as long as they sold their product, they made $1 million, everything was great. Is that true of 2021, or do you just have to constantly adapt? Don't you just have to constantly adapt all the time? All the time. And if you don't constantly adapt, what happens? You go bankrupt. So to me, I think those are two very good paragraphs. Paragraph number 1, I want to develop, kind of this multicultural awareness that helps me operate in a globalizing world. And then number 2, I want to develop skills and tools that allow me to think on my feet, be flexible, and adapt quickly. And then boom, 300 words, gone, just like that. All right, guys, that is our lecture on organization. I hope you found it useful. Next week, we're going to be talking about a new topic. All right, guys, we'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.